Hello, techies. Let's talk about Upptalk before we get started with the video. Upptalk is an online community for live, interactive software training, creating confident individuals capable of using global business tools. Without further ado, let us get to the point. Let's speak about Pega PCBA in this training video. Let's start with Pega before we get into Pega PCBA. Pega is widely used because it is a quick and flexible business process management (BPM) tool built on Java ideas. Next, we'll move on to Pega PCBA. The primary emphasis of a Pega Certified Business Architect (PCBA) is the planning and execution of a Pega-based software project. Expertise in analyzing, designing, and creating business needs and specifications for the Pega application is a prerequisite for a PCBA. What are the topics that we'll cover in this video? What is Pega PCBA? Business process. Introduction to Pega. Roles on a Pega project. Pega Installation. Please like and share if you find this video helpful, and subscribe to our channel to be alerted whenever a new video is uploaded. Sneha will go through the topics discussed in this video in depth. Let's get right to the topic.
So I think to begin with, let me just give you an introduction about myself. So I've been into corporate Pega trainings for about 8 years now. So I take up trainings on different Pega certifications like SA, WSA, CPBA, decisioning consultant and stuff, and also different Pega related frameworks like CRM, sales automation, customer service, marketing, and sort of things. And to give you a context course, the course is all about the business architect certification. Right? So the content, I think you have gone through the content as well. So the content is almost aligned with the Pega Academy. So once the course is done and once you have done like proper hands-on, you will be able to take up the certification as well. Like you will be certification ready, basically.
Okay, that's great.
Right. So, I mean, each session for like each topic, we would be looking at the basic intro of it, the context or the background, you could say. Probably like for every topic, we would spend for like 15-20 minutes for understanding the concept, and rest of it all would be the implementation. And this business architect course, I mean, generally when it comes to a regular BA, which we call business analyst, so I hope you know what a BA does, right?
I'm almost into that kind of role.
Okay. So they are like more to work with the product owners, stakeholders, getting requirements, so all the sort of requirement gathering. Then they segregate them into different stories, epic features, point them with whatever the methodology you're following, depending. Right? Whether you're going it for a sprint or for an iteration. So it's all what they do. Basically sort of, managing what to be taken in the next sprint and sort of stuff. Right?
Okay, great.
And they are the ones who work with these tools called Jira, Kanban board, right? When it comes to Pega's BA, it is a different aspect here. So here you no longer deal with Excel sheets and all. So you would also be involved in the application development. Right? In fact, to be very frank, you are the ones who start the development. Right? So that is why it is called business architect, not business analyst, because you would also be involved in the application development. Okay. So also be looking at a few technical aspects as well. Right? It wouldn't be completely not a theoretical thing. So we would a lot of practical implementation and technical stuff. So definitely that requires a hands-on. Right? I mean both of us are putting in effort and time, and you're putting in your amount. Right? So we are putting in your money as well. So let us try to make the most out of it. And definitely hands-on is essential. Hands-on is required.
Yeah, that's why I came to this training. Yeah.
Right. And that too with about like a week's gap for each training. So I mean, we all tend to forget things, right? So in maybe at least 2 to 3 hours probably whenever you could get some time. So if you just revisit questions, or you can go through PDN or do some hands-on, that will really helpful.
Okay.
Right. So I think that's the only expectation from my side. A bit of hands-on. We would be discussing these things today. I mean, in the first half, we will be discussing about these. Maybe we'll take a quick 5 or 10 minute break.
Yeah, it's good.
To the
Just to
next.
refresh.
Yes, correct. We will start understanding what is it about Pega, right? Then what features does it offer, or like what studios it has, how do we work on the implementation, right? So what about the implementation, how can we do it? So we'll be discussing a lot of things about the basic stuff today. Okay, right. Yeah, so very the frequent one that I get to hear is Pega is a BPM tool, right? So let us start from there, from the basic. Let us understand what is BPM. So let us dig a little deeper into business process, and then we'll come back to understanding. Yeah, right. To start off with, let us see what is a process. So anything that I could do in order to achieve a particular outcome, I can call it a process. So whenever there are like sequence of some steps or some process, or some actions are involved, and in order to achieve something, if I do all of it, I can call it a process. So I make coffee, I can call it a process, right? Because some standard set of steps are there, and I will be able to achieve an outcome out of it, right? My coffee is prepared, so that's the outcome I get. On the other hand, I'm working on a project report, right? So it also involves some series of steps. Like I may need to gather the information, then I may need to segregate it, then I would put it in a representable format, some pictures, diagrams, graphs. So I'll put it in that way. Then I may decide who this report has to be shared with. And yes, that could be called as a process. Right? So anything which involves a series of steps or actions, and when there is an outcome, I can call it a process. Okay, so process is good. What about business process? So can I call every process as a business process? Let's see. So let me read it out. So when I have a collection of related events, activities, decisions that involve a number of actors, resources that collectively lead to an outcome that is of value to an organization or the customers. So if I'm talking about business processes, the most important one is the outcome, right? And this outcome, it should be of value to my organization or for my customers. So otherwise, I cannot call that a business process. Right? So the earlier two scenarios which we discussed, coffee making. So I'm making coffee. Does it add a value to my organization or for my customers? No. Right? Maybe unless I work in cafe coffee day. Otherwise, it doesn't add any value to my organization nor for my customers. But on the other hand, the project report I'm talking about. So if it involves entities like customer satisfaction index, or the sales margins or profit margins, or the return on investments in the last quarter. So all this is sort of an important information. And if depending upon this, I'm making some decisions or I'm building some strategies, then it is definitely a value to my organization. Correct? So in the second scenario could be called as a business process. So the outcome is the most important thing when we look after business transactions. So is it adding any value to my organization or at least to my customers? Only then I will call it a business process. Now, when we just take up any typical examples, like your claim settlement or probably a loan application or a passport application, or the thing that we regularly do is placing an order online. So how do you receive your product? So all of these are sort of business processes. But how do I prove it? How do I say that they are business processes? in order to call something as a business process, so these 6 entities have to be satisfied. What are those? Events, activities, decisions, actors, resources, and outcome. Of course, outcome is the most important one. Okay, but let us see how these 6 entities will help recognize a business transaction. So I'm just going to take a simple example here where I'm trying to purchase something online. Okay, probably I want to buy a book online. Okay, so what I do, I'll start looking at different e-commerce sites. Probably I finalize on something, maybe Amazon. Okay, now I start searching for the book, so I get different vendors who provide that book. I will not just randomly pick somebody. I will not just randomly pick a vendor. Correct? We look at a lot of reviews. We look at the feedbacks. We look at discounts. Correct? So whichever is offering maybe a higher discount and whichever vendor has better feedback, better reviews, I'll select that particular vendor. And I will proceed on with the payment. Now, when it comes to payment, I can have multiple ways of paying. Right? I can choose internet banking, debit card, credit card, or Amazon reward points, or cash on delivery. Right? So different options are there. So I'm making a decision out of it, and I chose one of the modes of payment, and I've proceeded. Okay? So once the order is placed, what happens next? So the vendor comes into picture. He is the one who would either accept or reject the order. If he has a stock available, if the inventory is available, he would be accepting the order. Okay. So after which the product goes for packaging. After that, it is moved across the warehouses. It moves on the courier facilities. All of that, it is out for shipping, and then finally out for delivery, where the delivery guy gives you or delivers you the product. So this is a typical transaction that we come across. Okay. So let us see if this is a business transaction or not. Okay. So how do I see that? Let me check if all the 6 entities are being satisfied. The first one is event. So I initiating for purchasing a book is an event. Okay. And all the tasks that I perform in the process are called your activities. So what all I've done, I've checked ratings, I've checked discounts, then I've made some payments, I've tracked the order. So all these are your activities, right? And then you have decisions. So what decisions are made here? I made a decision regarding the mode of payment. I chose from different options like cash on delivery, internet banking, credit card, debit card. So I made a decision there. So yes, decisions are involved. Then actors. So who all are the actors here in this transaction? So the first actor would be me, the customer who placed the order. So the second actor is a vendor. Then the third or the other actors you could say are your packaging guy, the shipping guy, the warehouse guy, delivery guy. So all these are the other actors. Then you have resources. So what are the resources here? Anything that has helped me proceed with the transaction could be called as a resource. So what all helped me here? Maybe the credit card that you used for making a payment is a resource, right? Or the trolley in a warehouse could be a resource. Or when the delivery guy comes in, he brings a device for e-signature. So that could be called as a resource. Right? So anything that helps me proceed with the transaction is a resource. And yes, I have resources here. And the most important one is the outcome. So in this scenario, can you tell me what is the outcome here?
Outcome is you have received, in the sense, the transaction of this one.
Correct. So me receiving the product, the book, is the outcome.
Yeah.
Right? And is there an outcome for the vendor as well?
Yes,
Did
he
he?
has. He has been gaining with it, so he has got a
Correct. Correct.
customer.
Exactly. So he has got his payment and he has got a customer also. Right? So this typically is a outcome that we expect. So this you could call as a positive outcome, where I received the book in a good shape. It is the original copy, or it's like the latest version that I've booked. So yes, I'm happy. The customer, the vendor is also happy because he received his amount, and he might well receive a good feedback. Right? But so can I expect this positive outcome always for every customer, for every vendor?
No, there might be a
Correct.
else
Probably
loop. Yeah.
exactly. I received the book, but it is not the original version, or it's damaged, or it's not a latest copy. So in that case, as a customer, I'm not happy. So what do? I put in for an exchange or for a return. The vendor is also not happy because he has to go through all over the transaction once again.
Yeah, and
Right?
sometimes might have to reimburse the money back.
Exactly. Yes, he had to probably give the money back as well, right? Which is not a very good outcome there. But irrespective of whatever the outcome might be, it could be positive, it could be negative. So there has to be some outcome for the transaction. So it cannot just go on and on and on. No, there should be a specific outcome that we are attaining out of this transaction. Only then we call something as a business process. And so we can take any other real life examples, like you can take a passport application and you can see whether you have your events, activities, decisions, actors are involved or not, resources are there or not, what is the outcome. So for any business transaction you see, you will have all these 6 entities being satisfied. Okay, right. So now in the typical example we have seen for placing an order. We have considered this Amazon as the e-commerce organization. Okay. Now, if I ask you to tell me what all other transactions are possible with Amazon, what would be your answer? So one transaction we have seen, or one business process we have seen, is placing an order. So what else? The other transactions. Any guesses? Some random guesses.
What goes in the background is that.
Not exactly.
You mean one more process?
Yes, correct. So what are with
process might be between the vendor and the Amazon, because they have their how do they keep it in the warehouse, and sometimes it's Amazon one, or sometimes it's the transaction between Amazon and the vendors.
Probably, yes. I think this is the one you are mentioning, right? What happens in the background of your vendor? So how are the products?
Because they have to sign up to Amazon and they have to have their
Exactly.
all the contract with Amazon.
Exactly. Some seller related transactions.
One is that one, and one more contract they have with even the people who deliver. They have contracts with them. Either it's Amazon or private vehicles.
Okay. Then,
Sorry?
I mean, anything else? Any other transactions that we?
Other transactions.
Okay, probably I'll put it this way. You received the book, you received the product, but it is as what you expected. So what we do?
Oh, we go to Amazon and go back to the place where we purchased it, to the site, and we give that we are not happy with it, or we want a refund, or we want an exchange, or something like that.
Exactly. So it could be a return transaction, or it could be an exchange transaction, right?
Yeah.
Or I can take some subscriptions, right? Or I can unsubscribe. So all these.
Amazon membership, and also you have membership to Audibles or
sort of
anything
like
else.
Prime
Amazon
members.
Prime. Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon ebooks or Kindle sort of. Yes, I can consider all of these as transactions.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, if I'm able to manage all of these together on a single unified platform, that's what I call BPM, Business Process Management.
Yeah.
Right? So whatever transactions your organization is dealing with, if you're having one tool to look after all of those, I can call it a BPM tool.
Mhm.
In fact, the purpose of having a BPM tool, where you will be able to design your transactions, you'll be able to analyze them, you'll be able to execute, you'll be able to build reports out of it, right? You will be able to automate things. A lot of stuff is possible when you're dealing with the BPM tools, right? And I don't generally purchase a BPM tool for a single customer, right? Or a single actor is involved. I don't need a BPM tool for it.
Yeah.
I can just, deal with any other programming languages, Java, .NET, or anything else could be used.
Mhm. Yeah, it will be expensive. It will be not cost effective if you're just using it.
Yes. So there's no purpose of using a BPM there. Right? So the
Yeah.
right purpose is not served. So when you're choosing to deal with the BPM, so we need to check all of these things, whether there are multiple actors or whether there are some decisions being involved. Is there an outcome for it? We need to check all these things and then we can suggest a BPM tool to the customer.
Mhm.
Yes. And when I say a BPM, it needs to follow a certain set of standards, like any other language, any other platform. Right? Suppose there's Java. So Java is built upon the OOP concepts, object-oriented programming concepts, right? Now, suddenly I say that I've built my own OOP-based language. I say that. So how would you believe me? You definitely ask me to prove it.
Yeah, still you need to have the basic principles of that. Do you
Exactly.
do
So
it?
it needs to satisfy all my OOP concepts. Like there are some objects, classes, there's some encapsulation, polymer. So all these if they satisfy, I can say it is a BPM tool or sorry, an OOP tool. You will believe me. Similarly with BPM also, if I come and say, yes, Pritika, I've built my own BPM tool, she would ask me, prove it. So I should say, like, see, my BPM tool satisfies all the body of principles. We have some 10 best principles for a BPM tool. So any tool, if it claims to be BPM, it has to satisfy those 10 best principles. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going into the detail of these body of principles, but yeah, if any tool claims to be a BPM tool, it needs to definitely satisfy these body of principles. Rest of it, I should be able to design things. I should be able to automate my transactions. I should be able to draw reports out of it. So all these should be possible. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, let us quickly check on some benefits of these BPM tools. So this is not specific to Pega. So any BPM tool you take, these are the advantages we get out of it. So the first thing is agility. It's the ability for an application solution to adapt as per the environment. Okay? Because when it comes to an application, so it has to adjust to a lot of external and internal factors. So external factors could be like changes in some government rules, policies, taxation stuff. So all these, maybe competitors. So all these are the external factors that may impact your application or may impact your solution. Right? So your solution should be in a format that it should be able to adapt your changes. Okay. And sometimes you might have some internal changes like maybe changes in the leadership or some organizational restructuring and all, which might bring in some new strategies, right? New business policies. So all of these, whatever the change may be, internal or external, your application has to be able to take it up. And BPM has this advantageous aspect of agility. Then productivity. So when you try to streamline your business processes, right? So every transaction would go in the same manner. So it definitely means the employees could be a little more productive than what they were earlier. Okay, because your process is all streamlined, so they can concentrate a little more on customer issues and stuff rather than just working on the transactions. Okay. Transparency. So whenever you have all the business transactions or process, when you are able to look after them visually, like you get to know the status of each one of them. So it's a little more transparent here. So there's nothing to hide. Right? So even when we look after our Amazon order, if you track the order, you will be able to clearly see where the product has, where is it, what time it left that Amazon facility. You'll be able to clearly see the details. Right? So there's nothing to hide or there's nothing to not show up. So everything is transparent here. Right? And then customer focus. So the major focus here is the customer, addressing the customer issues or looking after the customer is a major focus. So for all your BPM tools, they are customer-centric applications. Right? So it's the customer's view of the application, not the developer's view or not the employee view, rather it's the customer's view. And then you have consistency, repeatability, and transferability. Okay. Now suppose you have placed an order with Amazon. Okay. Probably I also placed an order. So these are like two different transactions. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Assuming both of us are like same sort of customers, some prime customers, both of us are. Now, the way in which your transaction goes is very similar to how my transaction goes. Right?
Yeah.
It's not like a packaging is missed for you, or it's not like we have different paths. No, we don't have it.
Yeah, it's the same path. It's the
same path. Exactly. So that brings a lot of consistency to the application. So every transaction is considered, as how it is designed to be. Then there comes a lot of repeatability also, because every transaction, probably both of us have placed transactions. There are 1,000 other customers who place their transactions. Everything.
So you mean something like workflow, isn't it? So you build each of the workflow for each. Okay.
Yeah. Then sustainability. Whenever I have agility as an advantage, obviously it leads to sustainability, because my application can sustain if it's able to adapt changes. It's more sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In a sense, easily able to change it if any changes happens in the market or anything.
Exactly. Yes. For different markets, there might be different restrictions. There might be different laws, taxations. So if I'm able to,
I think that's one of the use of one of the main advantage, I think, isn't it? Pega has.
Correct. Right. I think there are others. I mean, as we are talking in the context of e-commerce, so there are other e-commerce businesses, like there's some eBay or there's some other, there are others also, but they're not sustainable because they are not ready to accept changes. So definitely the sustainability is what brings a longer life to your BPM tools.
Business.
Correct. And then the measurability. So you should be able to build up some reports. Correct, because what all business wants is, or what all leadership wants is the reports. So they do not want a customer one-on-one feedback or a
transaction, but they want everything to.
Exactly. They wanted it in a very high level. So how many cancels have been done in the last month, right? So they tend to check why are these many cancellations happening? Are the customers not happy, or are we not providing enough products? So they tend to change their decision strategies, and that's how they start working on building the
strategies.
Is correct. So measurability is also one key factor when it comes to BPM solutions. This applies to any BPM. So we have a lot of other BPM tools other than Pega. So you have TIPCO, Nintex.
IBM.
So, that's nice. So when it comes to these market reviews for various BPM tools, this agreement is between the research frequency and the customer satisfaction score. So if you observe, the research frequency of Pega is quite high compared with all the other tools. So when you look at even the Pega's versions, so they come up with versions very quickly. So probably like every 2-3 months, they come up with a new version, a new feature. So the research frequency is quite high. Right? And this could also be a reason for few clients not wanting it. Could be a bit of disadvantage here as well. For example, if I start my application in 8.2, right, Pega's 8.2, within the next 2 months, they release this 8.3. So I should also start working on the upgrading. Right?
So just a question here. So once you do a certification, you need to still, that certification doesn't hold good for you? Or you have to keep doing certificate?
Not required. So at least on the, if suppose when you look at the versions, so we have 6, 8 and all, right? Now within 8, there are other versions as well, like 8.1, 8.2, 3, 4, now 6.
Yeah, now 6, I think, isn't it, the recent one?
Correct. Now, there are people who have been certified on 8.1, so it is still fine. But people who are certified in 6 and 7, they might, look at getting certified again on the latest version. So there's no compulsion. Like it's not mandatory that whichever version Pega comes up with, I should be certified in it. Not required.
Yeah, but just to be up to date. But certification ones, because once you do a BA, then you can go for a lead certification, isn't it? You can go for different kinds of certifications.
Correct. So, I mean, about the roles and certifications for the BA role, we only have one certification. It is PCBA.
Okay. But I think there's the lead ones. There's no certification for lead BA.
Lead is in the development. That's
only for only this one. It's not there.
Correct. For BA role, there's only one certification. When you go to the technical and completely development, then you have like 3 levels of certifications there. Certified system architect, which is the beginner's level. Certified senior system architect, which is like the intermediate level. And then lead system architect. That's the only highest level.
Okay. So you usually as a business architect interact with the lead system architect, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes.
So yes, I mean, it's not like a one BPM tool is good, others are not good, nothing like that. So each one has its own advantages and disadvantages. We just need to choose whichever works best for us. Right? So now I think yes, enough of the background. Let us go to the Pega. So let us see what Pega is all about. Right? So when I ask somebody, what is Pega? Like you said, yes. So Pega is an application development platform. With Pega, you will be able to build applications where the business users work together with the IT. Okay, and instead of writing lines and lines of code here, I'll be able to use visual tools. And when I talk about this business users working with IT, that is we, business architects, will be closely working with the development team. So there's always a close coordination between the business team and the IT team. Okay, and obviously we know it's a low code platform where you don't need to write code much. Most of it deals with the visual tools. But when I say visual tools, it doesn't mean just simple drag and drop. No, there's a lot more beyond that. We'll be looking into it. Okay. And Pega is also considered as one of the pioneers in the BPM category because of definitely the ease of use and the accelerated application development. Okay. And when I talk in the perspective of business users, it's here, if you observe the business and the IT, they share the same kind of visual mode to get your business requirements and specifications. Right? So instead of using any other tools like Jira, Kanban board and all of that, I can directly get my requirements in the application itself. So I don't need any other Excel sheets, any other tools like Pega, Jira, Kanban boards aren't required. I can directly get the requirements into the Pega application. Okay. Right. When you have a question like why Pega, why not other tools? Let us see.
It's a unified platform.
Correct. So these are like the key differentiating factors when you talk about Pega. So obviously the first one is low code, no code. So I've seen without any technical background, they are able to, master Pega. So without any sort of technical background. So they have become CSAs, CSSAs and all. And because obviously the ease of use of the platform, hardly, no code or low code. So I do not say that it's completely no code, depending upon the requirements. Okay?
Yeah, so CSS you build, in the sense they need to at least have the knowledge of all the coding language, isn't it? Though it's low code.
Correct. So few concepts of OOP at least,
Yeah.
sort of OOP is required.
Because still they define variables and stuff like that, I think, isn't it?
Correct. Exactly. Right. So when, the requirements are within what the platform has provided, then I can call it a no code. But if your requirements are a bit beyond what the platform is providing, then I can still go ahead and write some code here. So it becomes a no code approach.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of the cases, it is minimal code. And then the approach is a model driven approach here. Right? As in, like we define some process models and we define how you want the transaction to go. So we define some process models for all of it. We will see a little more about model driven going forward. Okay. And visual tools, like yes, we have discussed already. And business users work with the IT. So when it's a starts building the skeleton of the application, so there's definitely a close coordination between the business team and the IT team. So in fact, we are the ones who build the high level skeleton of the application to get it, accepted by the client or the product. So after that, the devs come and they take over to look after the complex stuff, like all your security, handling the security of your application, probably teamed collaborations, then versioning of the applications, and some other complex requirements are handled by the devs. And documentation is automatically generated. So generally we see in projects, right, like they do not parallelly work with documentation. So once you are almost in the last phases, they start working on documentation.
Yeah, I think, but now I think it's more of they work parallel, isn't it, in all other also products?
Yeah, probably if that is the scenario, that's really good. But
Oh, is it not? Because I've not been in development for long, but now recently. But Scrum is one of those, isn't it? They work parallel, isn't it? Business and
but the documentation, I mean, adding in all
oh,
these
you
things.
mean the documentation is done at the beginning and then they don't concentrate on the
Correct, correct.
documentation?
So, and then they don't document any of that stuff, like what issues have come or like what or how did they resolve. So they they hardly put anything on a document, right? So
Okay.
and then towards the end, when once the application is all, I mean, development is all done, when they're transferring it to the maintenance team, that's when they start putting something on the document and then just they hand it over.
Okay, but I think now Scrum, because we have weekly sprint, so every day business, and I think there's one weekly something called a ceremony, and then the business users also come and check what is done this week. So it's I think
Okay.
they transfer to production as and when it's done the code in the agile platform. They don't wait till the end. So as and when it's done, now every week we have at the next week. So weekly we transfer some code, whatever is fixed, we transfer it to the system, to the production, and then the business users test that week.
Yes, I mean, when it is about the development, yes, we have like weekly releases, like, or otherwise like sprint releases. We have 1 month release and so. But when it comes to actual documenting this stuff, as in like what the developers go
So
through,
at the beginning they do, you mean they don't change it?
yeah,
Okay.
that we could have it automatically generated on the system.
Yeah. But here it's
Resources,
very interactive, isn't it? Every phase you can do the change.
correct, correct, yeah. And then Pega supports responsiveness. As in like if suppose I have maybe I have built an application for the web device or for a web view, okay, in Java. Now if I want the same application to be accessed in a mobile, I definitely need to do some additional HTML CSS configurations, right? It's not like it to just run like how it worked on the web browser, no, correct,
Yeah,
because
so in the app, yeah.
is all of the resolutions. So we need to make some appropriate changes. But with Pega, we don't need to do that. Once you build your application, it can be accessed in different devices, irrespective of screen size and resolution. The application will adjust itself accordingly. I don't need to do any sort of additional configurations here. So that's one great advantage when it comes to Pega platform.
Yeah, that's really great. I didn't remember reading that one. Yeah, that's really helpful, isn't it?
Right. True. And about the capabilities of the Pega platform, at least on the business users perspective, the first one is DCO. Here, like we discussed already, I don't need an Excel sheet or I don't need a Jira tool to get the requirements. I can have them directly on the platform. So along with the application, you can also have the objectives, requirements, specifications all captured there itself. Right? So that is like one good advantage. But I still see this feature is not that extensively used. People are still going for other tools and other approaches. So I
Though
think
they're
this,
using Pega.
yeah, yeah,
Is it?
yeah, yeah. In few
And why do you think they do that way? Because when you have everything in the system,
correct.
they are used to it.
Correct. That's the legacy they do not want to. So they're already used to the sort of practices. So I think it feels just
I would be happy if there's no Excel sheet. I don't like Excel sheet. Others are okay, but Excel sheet is something which is very complicated. It's better you use it in the system, isn't it?
right. Correct. Hmm. Right. So then we have something called as guardrails. For any language, any platform, we have certain set of best practices, right? So
Yeah.
Pega also gives certain set of best practices which are to be followed. And depending upon the code and depending upon these best practices that you followed, we get a score, right? We call it guardrail score. The score ranges from 0 to 100. The higher, the better. So looking at this guardrail score, I can tell like what is the health of your application.
So will the system show the score?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So if if you want to build a good Pega application, you should make sure it is more than 96 or at least 95.
Okay, so when you're building, it will show at each phase,
Yes.
or is it at the end it will show?
No. For each change that you do, for each rule or for each code
You
that
can
you're
go
writing.
and test, you can check that like a checker.
Right.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So that if there are any deviations from the best practices, I can go check what that deviation is. And sometimes it is inevitable that we have to
Can't do it, some minor exception.
Exactly. So if you really think that maybe this best practice cannot be followed in this context, then you need to clearly justify it, as in like why this is not being followed. Okay, probably some sort of client requirements could be there, some technical aspects, whatever, but we need to clearly
Okay, so you capture it in the documentation in the system.
Exactly. Yes. Right? Yes. And then extensible applications. So Pega provides us the options to build some frameworks so that I can extend those applications. Right? And also Pega provides certain frameworks by default for each domain. There are like customer service applications or customer service frameworks for insurance domain, for e-commerce domain. There are like different frameworks provided, and we can also create our own framework. That is also possible.
So that comes inbuilt when you buy a enterprise version, or you need to buy it on top of
So
it.
these frameworks are like additional. They
Cost.
require licensing. Correct.
Like whatever your organization needs, you go and top up on that one on a base.
What kind of application I'm going to build. So I'll purchase that framework.
Okay.
And when it comes to deployments, I can deploy my Pega application on premise or in the cloud. So there's a Pega cloud available, or if not, other cloud environments. Also, we can host our applications.
Okay.
Right?
Will you touch base on this? Will you show me?
Not exactly on the cloud, but we will look after deployments. Yeah, we'll see how.
Okay. In the sense, you will at least let me know how to do it, isn't it?
Yes. We'll.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. And probably, yes, the last topic for the next 5 minutes is about the different application development studios. So Pega comes up with different studios for different people to access it, depending on their roles. Right? So we have like 4 studios available: app, dev, admin, and production. Right? So each is targeted for different set of people. So your app studio for business analysts or business architects for faster application development, whereas Dev Studio for experienced developers for all the complex requirements, security, versioning, all of that is part of the Dev Studio. And Studio for system administrator to look after the background processing, batch jobs, and sort of stuff. Right? And then if you want to bring in some AI ML features into your application, you have this prediction studio. So your data scientists and data analysts will be working on the prediction studio.
Okay, so this is like role based, you get access, or you will have access to everything at the development phase?
Not required. If suppose assume I'm a BA, so I don't need access to the prediction studio, right? Because I work on defining these adaptive predictive models. I don't work on it. And my job is on the app studio.
Okay, so this is something the organization will manage, giving you access to that.
Correct. Correct. It depends upon the project and the role that you're performing within it.
So if you get access to the system, so still you can set up roles accordingly and you can give access. That's what you
Correct.
mean?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And when I talk about App Studio, so this is all we could do. We will be able to design some cases. Right? We'll be able to data. We'll be able to bring in different channels. Then a bit of UI. We can decide how the UI needs to look like. Okay. And
Okay.
when we'll be able to quickly develop the skeleton, we can as well get it reviewed from the clients. So,
Okay.
and then some changes we can directly make those changes and then get it reviewed. So it's more like an
Reviewed
access
again.
development. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So then Dev Studio for all the complex requirements.
So this is where the analyst work, isn't it? The system architects.
Exactly. Your CSAs, CSSAs, LSAs, they would be focusing on the Dev Studio for versioning, security aspects and all. And then your admin studio for all the background processing, the batch jobs that run in the back end, then your APIs, deployments, all of that part of the admin studio. Okay, and then you have your prediction studio for defining models, like your adaptive models, predictive models. You can build in different models and you can
Okay.
look
So
up.
is there accordingly certifications according to this areas?
Right. So we have a certification for data scientist. So people who are
In
inclined with
Pega.
exactly Pega certified data scientist.
And I was again reading about decisioning. One more. What is that? Do you know any? Do you have any idea about that?
Pega certified decisioning consultant it is.
Yeah.
So we deal with sort of building strategies. It's more like how you deal with the customers, sort of marketing.
Okay. So if we complete this, is that some? Do you take that course?
CPDC?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So is that something which is a good thing to do after once you complete BA? Like, because that's one I see in the market mostly asked.
Okay, right. But with the BA course, what happens is you get to know the what to say, the breadth of the platform. You'll get to know that, like you'll know all the features, like how is it interacting with the external environment. You get to know the breadth. Whereas once you look at the CSA course, you will know the depth out of it, like how technical aspects could be and how you
Okay.
can applications. It's more like the depth. You dig deeper into these things.
Okay. So is that after that the decisioning course comes?
Right. So at least a beginner's CSA one would be helpful.
Helpful to know this, to make strategies in that.
Exactly. Because that needs background. So I suggest a CSA should be good for it. At least,
Okay.
And you look at the different roles on a Pega project, just like any other project, here also we need a mix of people, right? People with different expertises. So when you look at it, I have business architect, the first role, because they are the ones who get to understand the business needs, talk to the product owners, get the requirements, right? So, and we are the ones who develop the skeleton of the application.
Yeah.
Then come system architects, CSAs, CSSAs, LSAs, to look after all the complex requirements, and they work on the Dev Studio. Okay. Then we obviously need a project manager to look after the overall project timelines, delivery, and sort of stuff. Maybe a practice leader to look after the best practices of the delivery, and product owner because he is the one who sends out the requirements and the one
who is the product owner will be usually be a business architect, isn't it?
Not exactly. Sometimes the client you are dealing with, the actual.
Oh yeah, Yeah,
Yeah,
they are the product owners. Yeah. Yeah, correct.
I mean, when we put all of them together along with the BA, we can call them business users. So you would also be a business user. The product owner will also be a business user.
Yeah.
Then we definitely need a QA to look after the performance, the testing, and all sort of stuff. Then a Scrum Master. So most of the development strategies are now into Agile and they are following Scrum methodologies. So we need a Scrum Master to make sure all the Scrum events are organized as needed. Then you sometimes need a specialty architect also, depending upon your project requirement.
Yeah, if it's a very big project. Like,
Exactly. Yes. And then an SME, yes, people who have an expertise on the domain or on the technology are always required when you're building an application from scratch. So they always help with their inputs and suggestions. And then finally we have system admin and IT for all the
these are for ongoing, they should be always there involved because for the ongoing activities, isn't it?
To provide different environments for us, dev, QA, pre-prod is needed, prod is needed. So they are the ones who, sort of organize these and secure the environments and the virtual environments and sort of stuff. Right? Yes. Okay. And yes, when I just move on with the Pega installation. So when I talk about Pega's installation, Pega application is basically a web application. Right? It's not a desktop application. Yeah. So earlier it was all about the basic stuff. As in we understood what is process, business process, BPM, the advantages, features, a lot of stuff related to that. After that, we moved on to understanding the Pega platform, the features, the capabilities that it offers and stuff. And we have seen the different studio roles as well. Now let us go into the installation. So how do you deal with the installation of Pega? Right? So when I say Pega application, it's basically a web application. Right? It's not a desktop application like your Excel, PowerPoint. It's not a desktop application. Okay?
So you mean that whatever change you make in the live environment, it will take effect immediately, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes.
So you need not go and deploy it separately. You deploy it on the go, isn't it? Like whatever change you do.
Correct. At least if you are dealing with one specific environment, the changes that you do will definitely be impacted. You don't need to restart your servers or deploy it, then build. All of that isn't. Yeah.
So it's just a click of a button, like deploy.
Exactly. Yes. So here deployment is more like within the environments. So when I move my code from dev to QA, we call it deployment. Or from QA to prod, we call it deployment. Right? It's like that, but not within the same environment.
Yeah, but if you're doing any changes, like a small change you're doing in the live directly, then it will be immediately live. There's nothing stopping it.
Yeah. And also when I say it's a web application, it would, or I'll be able to the application through a web. Right. And when I try to open or access a Pega application, I can access it through a web browser, obviously, because it's a web application. Right? And also talking about the installations here, I can do it in two ways. One is the personal edition, which is like a practice version of the platform. So this is more like a practice version, the personal edition.
Yes. Yeah, this one you can't use for the enterprise thing, isn't it? It's not allowed.
Practice. It's a lighter version, which is defined for the practice.
So is this version you're giving me or?
Correct. We would be the personal edition.
Okay.
Yeah, because enterprise edition, it has to be like a licensed version. It needs to be purchased.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right. Yeah. And also, when I say it as a web application, so you definitely need a server for it to host the application. an application server.
Yeah.
And also a DB server is also required to manage the databases, the DB tables and stuff.
Okay.
Now, when I need an app server and a DB server, for personal edition, you don't need any other explicit installations here. It comes with the Tomcat app server and PostgreSQL DB server.
Packaged everything.
Yeah, it's kind of packaged. So they have defined that you would be using a Tomcat app server and a Postgres DB server here. But
So
when it
what
comes
is Postgres? I never used that one. What is that? PostgreSQL?
PostgreSQL, it's like a DB server, like your Microsoft SQL is there, or IBM DB2.
Okay.
Sort of. A DB, you can say a
But
server.
you can connect to any of the databases, isn't it? Otherwise, in the enterprise, like whichever
Yes.
you want to.
Correct. In enterprise edition, we can have our choice, but with personal edition, specific.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just checking if so in enterprise you can connect to anything.
Correct. So in fact, in enterprise, I could use other app servers also. Like I could use IBM WebSphere, or I could use JBoss, or I can also use Oracle servers. So all those are possible. And
Oh,
even
even the
for
server. Okay. So it's not that it doesn't.
And even for my DB also, I could use IBM DB2, Microsoft SQL could be used, Oracle could be used. So depending upon the client's choice, I can choose a combination of these and have my enterprise edition.
And it can connect to the old world kind also, like the legacy ones,
Exactly.
like the. Okay.
Yes. So once you have installed your Pega application, so once your Pega installation is successful, so the team will help you out on that, no worries. Right. Once it's successful, let me show you. Right. So you will get to see these three icons on your screen. 8.5, I mean Pega login, shutdown, and start. Three icons or three shortcuts will be available on the screen. Okay. So each time you have to work on your personal edition, you need to start your server first. So just double click on the startup and you have a command prompt running in the back. So you see a message called server start. So after this, you just need to click on login and you can see this screen. So once you are able to see this home screen, which means your installation is successful. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me log in. And initially, when your login screen or this home screen, I mean, it doesn't immediately pop up. It'll take a few minutes. So yeah.
Okay, because for the first time it's running the server in the background, isn't it?
But slowly, once you start using it, you see that it is gaining speed.
Okay.
Yes, so let me just log in.
This is for working. When the client uses it, they will have only the web. Yeah.
Right. So when the client uses it, I don't need to have all this local host 8080 and all of that. It would just be
This one, it will be running in one place in the server or in the cloud, but they will be using a web access.
Correct, exactly. Right. So this is how it looks like. Okay, I'm currently launched onto the Dev Studio. So this is how the Dev Studio looks like. But if I want to switch to other studios, I can switch. Okay. So first, let us see what do we have on the Dev Studio. Each studio is divided into 4 parts. So the top portion where you see the studio, the application platform, then there's some configure, okay, where you can configure a lot of things. Okay, there is some launch portal, there's some create options, likewise there's some search button, all of this is available. So this is called your header area. So what's it
Sorry,
called?
what is it?
Header area.
Yeah,
Okay.
header area. Okay.
And on the left panel, you see you can explore a lot of things. There's recents, case types, data types, app records, and a lot of other things. This is called the Explorer panel. It's called the Explorer panel. Okay, so the first one is called the header area. Then you have Explorer panel. Then, so this is your Explorer panel where you can explore things. And on the bottom, you have Agile Workbench, Current Works, Scenario Testing, Issues, Tracer, Clipboard on the bottom of the screen. Right? So this is part of your developer toolbar. So this is typically used for the developers, I mean, to do things or to look after
To debug things, they run and they check for the result.
And then the fourth one, the major portion of the screen that is occupied, the center part, is called the work area. So where you actually work. So it's called the work area. So any studio you take, they will have all these parts. But the features would be respective to that particular studio. Correct? On a dev studio, if you see, there are a lot of things on the developer toolbar. But when I switch to the app studio, we'll see what app studio has. So on an app studio, can you expect a developer toolbar to have all the features?
Developer toolbar? No, yeah.
Probably few, but not everything.
Not everything, yeah.
Exactly. So we have all the four parts available in every studio, but the features are respective to that studio alone. Now you see apps.
In the dev, it will be very deeper. They have to do everything.
Exactly. So dev is like everything is put under the dev. So features of all the studios can be accessed in
dev.
Right. This is the app.
So this is App Studio.
Exactly. So the one we would be, going forward, we'll be using it very much.
Okay. So is this what the business analyst will use this one?
Exactly. Yes. And sometimes we will also be switching onto the Dev Studio. Yeah. Sometimes we get to do that as well. It's not like I'm a BA, so I would only confine myself to App Studio. No.
Yeah.
The course also, we need to look after a few things on the Dev Studio.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Once I'm able to complete this course, then I'll think of doing the CSA and just go further in this direction.
Right. Yeah. And on the Explorer panel here, you see there are like separate features are there, like channels, user settings. So these are specific to the App Studio. Then, do I have a developer toolbar here? Yes, I have. With a very limited set of options.
Okay, so
I still have it, but very limited set, because as a BA,
what is that? Like a disable symbol, what is that?
Which one? This one?
No, the last one, the disable symbol.
This one? Okay. Yeah. So
it looks like a disabled symbol.
That's in fact true. So that's for, Pega lets people with disabilities also access the applications. So they tend to, provide special features for these kind of people.
Oh, okay, that's great.
People with color blindness could be there, right? Or people with disabilities in hearing could be there. So they tend to provide some options for them as well.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
Yes. And then the work area is completely different here than what we saw on the Dev Studio. Right? And when I just go looking on the Admin Studio, it would also be different.
Yeah, but they are the one will have access to everything, and they will be the one who will setting up roles, I think, isn't it?
So, I mean, in Pega, I think the word for admin is kind of, tricky.
Different.
Yeah, generally admin is the one who, he can do anything, he can manipulate anything. But in Pega, so all of that is done on the Dev Studio.
Developer.
So, correct. On the Admin Studio, I don't have anything like security or restrictions,
Okay.
not possible here. They only look after the background stuff. Like what jobs are running or what nodes my application is being hosted on. So sort of bad stuff and all.
Okay, so this accessibility developer also will have.
Yes. So this is the Explorer panel here, and you still have a developer toolbar with few features better than what a BA has, but lesser than what a developer has.
Yeah.
And this is my work area where you get to see the nodes, agents, jobs, all of it. When you look at predictions. This is your prediction studio, where again the header area is different. On the Explorer panel, you get to see the models, adaptive, predictive, text-related models and all. And few models are provided by the platform already. So if you think any of that could be of use, you can utilize that. If not, we can create our own models also.
In the sense, prediction models. What models?
Yeah, so these are like the default provided models. So if any of them suit our requirement, we can use it. If
to
not,
predict.
Yeah, we can create our own models also. You have a button called new here.
Okay, that depends on the business users, isn't it?
There are like predictive, adaptive, categorization, extraction models and all. So yeah, we can use them as
well. Okay.
Correct. And yes, we have a bit of debugging here also, if required.
Okay. And where does the reporting fall?
Reporting could be done from the App Studio, or you can also do it from the Dev Studio. So major from the Dev Studio.
Okay.
Like we have separate portals for it where you can create reports and all. It's not, I mean, like specific to a particular studio, but it's a complete different portal there. Depending upon the end user, it's more like.
So you mean in the reports you need to write actual queries, or it is all automatic, like you need to just drag and drop?
Both are possible. Drag and drop from the end user perspective, queries from the developer perspective. Both are possible.
Oh, like if they want something specific, they can ask the developer to build it for them. Like.
Correct. So as a developer, we can do it, or you can let the end user also run his own reports. You can
that is already
enable both,
isn't it?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
That's like standard what comes in Pega, but if you want to do anything, you need the developer app to already build, and then the end user can run it from wherever they say.
Not required. Even we can enable the end user also to build his own custom reports. We can do that. It's not like whatever is there, can run that. No. Along with it, he can also generate his own reports.
Okay.
Possible. Yeah, and in fact, we'll be looking at that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Because I know that's one of the important concepts when you work with the top management. They're more interested in reports, how the reports come out rather than anything else.
That's very true. Very true.
That's what I work, because ours is a mid-sized company, so I always work with the board, so they are more interested in the report rather than how the system is doing.
Exactly. Exactly. So they do not want the technical stuff, what goes behind, but only the reports are important.
Yeah, and they need it very urgently every time, so it's like pressure.
So I understand. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, to get started with developing some transactions, or typically in Pega terminology, we call them case types. Okay, so case type is nothing but a transaction here. Now, so in order to
So
deal
can
with
I
a
relate to something in other systems like each workflow is called a case type? Is that something like that?
workflow, you could say that. You could say, yeah. For
Because
now,
you build
yes.
for every case, like every scenario, you will have a workflow, isn't it?
Correct. Correct. Exactly. Yes. You can
Okay.
call that for now. Yeah.
Okay.
So to build all of that, your so-called workflows, or to build the business transactions, so
Mm-hmm.
I need an application first, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is a Pega platform directly, but I don't want this. I want to build my own application for practice, or for whatever organization you're looking for. Okay? So let us see how an application could be built. Okay, and in order to build your application, it's only from the Dev Studio, not from any other studios. Okay, so yes, let us focus on building the application, and then we'll
Okay.
see how to transactions and stuff.
Okay.
So in order to build, I need to go to the header area on the Dev Studio, and this is called your application menu. So once I click this drop down or that expand button, so I see different options here where I have a new application. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, let me just do one thing. Just give me a moment. Okay. So now, like once I click on this new application, it gives me a wizard now. So wizard and Pega is like, the term we regularly come across. It's like some set of steps that are involved. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this opens up a new application creation wizard for me. So there are like some 3 to 4 steps that are involved in an application creation. Okay. The first step is, what kind of application are you going to build? So we have two application types, Cosmos and Classic. So Classic is something which is like a Pega's legacy approach for the UI. So all the aspects of conventional legacy UI is included here. Whereas with Cosmos, you can have these new features of React. You can integrate your application to React, and some new front-end technologies can be incorporated here in Cosmos. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the applications we tend to see, they are built on Classic. Okay. So
Why do you think that? Because they already had some legacy, so they want to connect that.
right. So this Cosmos is like newly introduced. I mean, with the 8.2 version. So they're still figuring out things,
Learning.
because not like a standardized approach yet. So people are still following the old legacy one only so far.
So there's now new concept of AI also, isn't it? So it is still available in Classic.
Yes, yes. Just the UI, the user's view is different. That's all. The rest of it is
Okay.
all, that is still remains the same.
So can you call that Cosmos is a bit? It has Classic, but it has much more.
You can say so. Yes, yes. So you can say Classic is like a subset of Cosmos.
Cosmos. So I think it's just people are not adapted to it. So in future, this will be the place where you will be
Right.
doing it, isn't it?
So we would be looking at both of these anyways, but to start off with,
Start with.
let's
Okay.
go with the basics. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's
Thank you.
do the Classic type. And so with Classic, what happens is there are no predefined case types or data types. It's just like an empty or a blank sheet of paper. Nothing is predefined, nothing is available. So whatever I want, I can build here. Okay. Use this application type. Okay. Now, what is the name of the application that you're going to have? So what kind of application are you going to build? For example, okay, let's build an application for recruitment. Okay. Before clicking on create application, there's something else that I have to do. Click on advanced configuration. Okay. So when I build a Pega application, it's obviously for an organization. It's not for one single person, right? So there are some sort of settings that we need to look after. Application settings and organization settings. So what are those? Here comes your application structure. What kind of application you're going to build? Right? Is it a framework application or is it an implementation? Now, what is this framework and implementation? Framework, I think by the name itself, we can understand that if you build something as a framework, it is reusable.
Okay.
Right? It's like you're building some standard of things which could be reusable later. Implementation is something which is customized, which is one specific use. It cannot be reused. Right? So it is our choice whether this application should be, is there a scope for reusability in the future, or is this only customized for a particular requirement?
So is it a good idea to always build it as a framework? Or will it impact somewhere if you use it as customized? Because if you can use framework in one place and in all place, then that's the better approach, isn't it?
Correct. So when it comes to our IT terminologies, I'll put it this way. Suppose you can build a framework for an account in the organization. Right? So all the accounts all the projects in that account can have their own implementations. Right?
Okay.
So throughout the account, I would be using a single framework application. But on top of that, I will build a separate implementation for each of those projects. I can do that, right?
Okay, yeah.
Likewise. So if you think there is a reusability, then I will go for this framework type. Okay. So for now, I'm just going for framework. We will also build an implementation as well once this is done.
Yeah.
Now, what is your application ID? So it would generally take the first 8 characters. Okay, I'm just putting it recruit.
Is that the unique ID to call that framework later?
Right, exactly. So then comes your version 01, 01, 01. So here, what are these 3 O1s? I'll tell you. So starting from right to left, this O1 represents the patch version. So changes related to bugs or issue fixes that might have done will be taken care in this patch version. So you increment the patch version when you are dealing with some bug fixes and issues. Right? Then you have the minor version. The second one is called the minor version. So this is incremented for any minor changes or features in your application. Whereas major version is incremented when you are dealing with some major enhancements. So each one of it represents a specific version of your application. Now, the best practice is always go with 01, 01, 01. I can have 21, 31, 41 as a version. So the system is not going to stop me. Right? But if I have that, a typical Pega developer will understand that 20 major versions have been released, 30 minor versions have been released, 40 patch versions have been released. That's how they'll interpret that. So we'll always go
the
with
first one. Sorry, I didn't. The first one is, what is it called? The first one from left.
Sorry.
The first one from left. What is it called? Left. So
this is
the right one is
major. Minor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's called.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Got it. Thank you.
Major, minor, patch. Yes. So my application structure is ready. Then, for which organization are you building this application for? Because it cannot be a single user, a single person. It should be an organization. Suppose my organization is some X, Y, Z. Okay. Then within the organization, do you have any departments? And within those departments, do you have any sub-departments? So those can be at the division and unit. Okay.
So you can give like recruitment division.
Correct. So suppose recruitment is obviously built for HR services, right? I mean, because that's part of the services. So my division could be HR. And
Unit would be recruit.
Yes, it could be recruitment, it could be onboarding, like that.
Oh, yeah.
Or it could be employee engagement, resignation. So likewise, I can have different units under HR. So whichever I will use it. Or on the other hand, I can have geographic aspects also. Suppose my application, I'm targeting for India. Okay? And within India, do you have any branches? Right? It could be like I can have it in Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, likewise. My division unit could be geographic aspects or functional aspects, or you can have a combination of both. Likewise, depending on the requirement. Okay. Now, depending upon these two, my application settings and organization settings together, something called as class structure is being built. So we will see very clearly about what is class structure going forward. But for now, it is just a combination of app settings and org settings. And this FW in between shows that it is a framework-based application. Okay, this application is a application. Okay, so this advanced configuration is very important because that's where your class structure.
Okay, but it doesn't show up in the front page, isn't it? If you're using for the first time, you will not even note it.
Exactly. Like few people I've come across without even clicking on advanced configuration, they click create. Even I did.
Yeah, because it for the first time it doesn't look like anything important.
Exactly. But this is very, very prominent because your application, your organization, all of it is, here is very defined.
So if you click straight, what will happen? It takes something default and goes in.
Correct. You will still be creating an application, but
you don't know where you're building it.
No.
When you search for it, is it a problem later?
No, but you do not know what is the organization division and unit. It takes some default value, right?
Yeah, that's what it's later to recognize it. It will be difficult, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So let's save it and click on create application. So this might take a moment because a lot of rules would be created in the backend.
Okay. From where is it picking up the rules?
It will create new rules for your application. So we will be seeing a lot of rules built on the application. I mean, like few things.
Yeah, but we have not told it anything, isn't it? So how will it be building the rules?
So few are like the default ones. They will be provided by the platform. And few are your organization vision settings that you give, the type of application you give. Few rules will be created from that inputs.
Okay. And then on that you can build your own customized rules.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Now, once the application is created, we will try to define like two case types. Right? Case type as in some transactions that might be there on the recruitment
onboarding or something like that.
Right. So what transactions do you think we may have under recruitment?
You mean onboarding or it's about recruitment?
Recruitment. Any thing on the recruitment or
so you can say a manager posts a vacancy, then the recruitment team makes everything ready for that to be published in the net, and then the applicant will apply. From there the process starts.
Right, correct.
So that's one. And once the applicant has cleared, then there will be an onboarding process with the recruitment team will have the onboarding process for that.
We can build those transactions, correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
I work very, my current role is I work very close with the recruit and in the sense HR
Those
team.
are
My
right example.
specialization in ERP is on HR side itself.
Okay, okay, nice.
Yeah,
Then
so it's really connecting. So it's good you're doing project in this, so I can understand easily.
yes, I see the application is created. Okay, but now I need to add in some operators, add in some users here, right? So let me add in, and if you see, I have two roles available, admin and author. So admin is like an administrator one, author is for our BAs. So I'm going to create both the users, both the user roles. I'll just name it admin at REC.
So what does this do? Sorry.
So this is for creating operators or creating users for, because I need to log in into the application, right?
Yeah.
The application is created, good, but I need to have users to work on it.
Okay, so everybody can't log into this application until you give access. Now you need to give this
Exactly.
username and password to them to log in. Others
Exactly.
want to access your code.
So they cannot unless the access is provided.
Okay.
So these are like for two users. I'm creating one username password for each of them. So one for the author and one for the admin. Okay, I'll just make a note of these because they're like the default user ID and passwords. Just make a note. So yes, we have created application. We have created the users. Right. Now I have two options. Either I can just click on done to close this wizard, or I can just log off to actually log off from this administrator.
Mm-hmm.
Just click on done, and I'll also show you where to log off. Here on the left corner, you will be able to log off from the application. Okay. So now from admin user, I went on to the Dev Studio to create a framework application. I've created users and then I logged off from that.
Okay.
So this time I
You
will
have to
log
log
in.
in with this one.
Yes, I'll log in with the new user.
So what is the difference between admin and author?
The roles. So here admin can access all the three studios. I mean, Prediction Studio will not come by default, but the rest of the studio all accessed by the admin. Whereas author can access only app and dev, not admin studio.
Okay.
So now if I just try to log in, I'll show you that anyways.
Oh, so here now I think admin comes, this is the real administrator, I think, isn't it? Like who creates the application in this case, in Pega.
Exactly, yes.
Like how we went and created applications. So in the larger enterprises, we might request, like if you're doing a real-time project, you might have to request the admin to create the necessary things for you, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes, yes. So
And
as
then they
this is
will
a
give you the username, password, and then you can log in and do it.
And as this is a default password, I'm suggested for a change password screen. And I've just put the rules. Rules is like the universal Pega password. So I'm just putting that. Right. So you see, by default, I'm launched onto the admin studio. Why?
Okay.
Because the role that I've chosen earlier is an admin for this particular user. Right. So as I've chosen the role to be an administrator role, my default portal is set to admin studio. But still, I can go ahead. I can launch any other studios as well. Okay. Now, for let us see how it looks for a author. I'm going to just take this author. Let me just use the default password here. Let me log in. And here also again my change password screen appears. Let me just put it to rules. I'm going to save.
It will take some time over.
Yes, why is it taking? Let me just. So now from the admin, from the author operator, I can only launch the app. Why? Let's reload this once again. So once I log in with this user, you see I've got App Studio by default because there is an author here, and I can also launch Dev Studio if required. But I don't have access to other studios. Like I cannot access Prediction Studio and Admin Studio. So these are like the default behaviors that are provided.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Now, what I'll do, maybe I'll just go to case types here to define two case types. I'm not going to design the complete life cycle now, but I'll just define two case types that these are going to be my transactions. What are those? Maybe one for recruitment and one for onboarding. Let me define two of them. Now let me just launch this case types. So case type is where you define your business transaction. So you see, I can only access two studios, app and dev, not the other admin studios and prediction studios and all of that.
Okay.
So I'm on the case type explorer and I'm going to add a case type. What are we going to add? One case type for recruitment and one for onboarding. Okay, so defining the case type or designing the life cycle, we'll probably see it on the next session. Okay. Now I'm just going to add the recruitment case type. Okay. So let me click on next.
So both you create at the same time if you want to.
Sorry, I did not get that.
No, two case types. I thought one after the other you create. So you create first both the case types which you want to do it.
Not together. It's like one after the other only. I mean, both I cannot simultaneously. First, I need to create the recruitment, then one more case type for onboarding. Okay, maybe one more case for resignation could be there. Like this. So all those things that are related to HR services, I'm going to build an application for them.
Okay.
Okay, and now as this is a framework application, and I have two case types. Okay, so the next thing maybe I wanted to do is I want to reuse these case types or whatever I have in this framework application. I wanted to reuse it, and I build a new application on top of that. Right? Like for example, I want to build an application in Java using Spring or Hibernate. Okay? So Spring and Hibernate are like frameworks. Java is a platform, correct? Or you can say a programming language. Now, I start and write the code for the Spring and Hibernate. No, right? I don't need to write it from. Hello? Did
I
I
didn't
miss something?
get, sorry, I couldn't hear in between. Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, okay. Okay. So my requirement is, suppose I want to build an application in Java with Spring
Yeah,
and Hibernate
yeah,
using. Right? Now, will I sit and write the code for Hibernate now?
no.
Because someone has already written it. It's available
Yeah,
and
so
you
you
can
are
just.
just trying to put it on this one. You're just trying to build on that.
Exactly. Exactly. So I can reuse it. Someone has already written it. So
Yeah,
reusing,
it's a free.
it saves me a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
Right? So here also, now if I want to reuse these features of this recruitment application, I will reuse this
You can call
framework.
this there. You can call as one of
Exactly.
the functionality and then you can reuse it there, isn't
Right.
it? That's what you
Right.
mean.
Correct. So now I'm trying to show you that I'm going to use this recruitment and onboarding case types. I want to reuse them
Mhm.
in the new application that I'm going to build. So let's see how that is possible. This is still loading. Okay. Wait, let me just read this. So this is like a very a basic stuff, but an important stuff when it comes to building the applications, because we
Yeah.
hardly do this. Right? Generally, an LSA would be doing it to decide what application are we going with or what organization structure we are going with. All that would be decided by the LSA.
Mhm.
Now I have a case type called recruitment. Good. Let me add one more case type for onboarding.
Where did this come? Managers, user. It created itself.
Exactly. Yes. I told you, right? A lot of rules would be created. So few of those are.
Oh, because you told recruitment, it picked up all those things.
No. For any application, you will have this manager and end user portal. Any application you'll have it.
Oh, sorry, this is in a different way. Okay. Okay.
Right. I mean, the system doesn't know like what domain you are using it, because just this is a
Yeah,
plain.
I got it.
So it doesn't know what users will be there, which operators will be there. It doesn't know anything like that.
Okay, this is like managers and users. It's in the system view, it is getting it. Okay.
Exactly.
Why is it taking so long to build all those in the background?
Initially, yes,
To
it
get
will take
all
a
the
bit.
stuffs related to that framework.
Right. I mean, there's a reason why the system is a little slow when you create a brand new application. So slowly it takes up speed. There's a valid reason for that to happen. There's no a process in the backend called rule resolution. So that's
Okay.
responsible for sort of this delay. Okay, so I think yes, the onboarding case type is created, but I'm not going to do the life cycle, how the process does. I'm not going to define all of that now. Let me just save this.
So we are doing it later.
Correct. So now, I mean, today it's all about building the applications. So how you can build or
Okay.
you can manage.
Because
But once
processes are built by business analysts also, isn't it?
correct. Yeah, we will be looking at that probably in the next session.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so now on the case types, I have two case types, onboarding and recruit. Okay. Now my requirement is I would want to build a new application, okay, using this recruitment application. So, I mean, either I could do it from the current author login, or if you want an admin to do it, I mean, that is also fine, because both of the roles have access to the Dev Studio. Let me switch to the Dev Studio. So how do I do it? The same process again. Let me go to the application menu, and whatever we have case types we created on the App Studio, so they will be available Dev Studio as well, because they're part of the same application, right? So just that the view is different, but the features still remain the same.
Okay, because you've logged in as to both the users will be able to see that, isn't it? You have logged in as an
Exactly.
application user.
Yes, yes. So now this author, if he's trying to create an application, now tell me which type of application should I choose?
You're going to build
That's,
on this.
my requirement is I would want to reuse these two case steps.
Oh, you're
I
going
want
to
to
reuse these two case types. Then it will be Cosmos.
Cosmos. Okay, let me. Now, I have like two case types already on the framework application, right? Onboarding and recruitment.
Yeah.
Just like your Spring and Hibernate. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I want to build an application on top of that Spring and Hibernate.
Okay, so it will be not reused. You want to reuse it, isn't it?
Correct. So the recruitment application has the onboarding and recruitment transactions. Now I want to reuse the. My built-on application should be what?
Okay, sorry, I got it. In the sense I was not seeing that. It's recruitment.
Exactly. So
Yeah, because it's a framework we have built and you want to reuse that framework. That's what you meant. I was not seeing that. I was seeing only Cosmos and class. I couldn't see that as application.
It's not
I got
classic
it now.
because I don't want to build it from scratch again. Rather,
Yes, so
someone
you have this recruitment framework, so you're going to build your application on that. So you're using this framework.
perfect. So now I'll have an option and the system shows what all features you wanted to reuse. So you can choose
Okay, so
from
you have these two options. What you want to reuse, you can pick it from there.
assuming I want both because I never know what my
What you want to do it. So you will take the whole framework and go forward.
and there are something called as data types which we do not know yet. So nothing's available. I'm just going to continue. So this I'll name it recruitment IMPL just for us to understand it's a
This is
recruitment.
your application which you're building on top of it.
Correct. And again, I should go to advanced configuration. This time I'll choose this to be an implementation application.
Okay, yeah, there we make the choice. Okay.
Yes, I can have it a framework as well, but I want it to be an implementation. And you see the organization division unit have been populated. Why?
Yeah.
Because operator and the framework that you have chosen. And one interesting thing here is this doesn't have any FW here because if it's the implementation, you don't have that FW thing on your class structure.
Yeah.
And you can also see how your class structure could be. Some XYZ recruitment IMPL dash work is inheriting from XYZ framework recruitment work. So it clearly shows that you are reusing from the framework. Okay, like each is being reused from its framework entity, like that. Okay, so I think let me just and we are going to create the application.
So this one again, you need to log into the now while you're creating your new implementation project, you come back to the because you're switching screens. I can't see that. You're coming back not to the application. You're going to the Pega admin tool and creating one more project, isn't it?
Right, correct.
So this project is you have come out of those two applications and you're again going to the first place where we opened, isn't it?
I did not go to the administrator@pega.com. Rather, I logged in to this admin we just created, admin@rec.
Oh, in that only you're creating one more project, implementation
Yes.
project, and you're calling the frameworks.
Yes. So that is why you see the admin, the one which the current user who logged in, he created
Okay,
the
but the other author can't create one more project. He can only work on the project.
author also could do, but he also has to switch to the Dev Studio only. When whatever the role might be, I can only create applications from Dev Studio, not from any other studio.
Okay. So if I've given access to Dev Studio, they can create their own application in spite of having the frameworks. They can build on that. Okay.
Correct. So now if
Or
you
they can
want, you
create
can
new also, in the sense,
new
without
also.
using it. Yeah, okay.
Correct. So you can also have like admin REC IMPL. I mean, just that for specific to implementation, if you need any operators, you can create them. So this user, the first one that I've logged in, has access to both the applications now. The one who created the implementation application, right? So definitely
Okay.
he will have access to both. But this admin REC IMPL has access only to the implementation application, but not the other applications. I mean, getting it,
Okay.
or is it confusing?
Yeah, so it is one step further. Now you have to log into that one, is it?
Correct.
To
So
build
as
it,
this
or can you build
user,
it from your own app store, like admin from the top?
yes. So here, if you observe, I can just click on done to close this wizard, or I can directly go to the app. So current app that I am in is recruitment,
Okay.
right?
So it will come
When
over
you
there. Your project will come there.
right. So the application is recruitment. Now, when I see the application has, let me check the built on applications. So is it built on something or what? We'll see that. Any application you take in Pega is built upon the UI kit. So all your UI that you see on the screen is responsible, or it is because of the UI kit. Okay? So recruitment application is a framework application, correct? Agreed?
Yeah.
Now, when I switch, you have an option that you can switch to recruitment IMPL because this user has access to both.
Oh,
Now, if
okay.
I
So this
just
is like a super user, and they have, but if you log into, if you have given only access to this one, then you need to log into that specific implementation project, isn't it?
now this
So
admin
from
at
where you're creating, that is a superset, and the other one is the subset.
correct, you can see so.
So if you log into the recently created one, you will get that framework, but you will not have access to change that framework.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So now you are in the REC IMPL application, and if I look at the application definition, what do you think will be the built-on application here? Will it be UI kit?
No, it will
something
be
else?
recruitment.
Exactly. So REC IMPL is based upon recruitment. And once you open the recruitment, it will be built upon UI kit. Right.
Yeah. So it will be inheriting everything and coming to this one. So you can, because UI kit is the basic, which should be having every Pega one. And then on that you built recruitment. And now you're reusing it in somewhere else. So you will have both of them there.
Correct. Perfect. Now, I think, yeah, we are like close to end the session, but with probably a few questions from my side. Now, can I add a framework application on top of another framework application? Is that possible?
Can a framework application can be built or can have one more framework?
No, just like this. Now, IMPL is built upon recruitment, correct? Similarly, can a framework application have or be built upon another framework application? Can I do that?
I think so.
Yes, possible.
Because you can pull that and you can build more on that. It's like building on Java, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes. True.
On Java,
Now,
you can build one. They have
True,
their
true.
own libraries, and then again you use your framework, and again on that framework, which is already given by someone, on that you build your own framework.
Yes. Is this
Yeah.
possible? Implementation on top of framework?
Is implementation, in the
Can we
sense you
build?
have a framework and you want to build an implementation project.
Correct.
Yes, yes,
Yes. In fact, that is what we did, right?
yeah, that's what.
Now, what about this? Can I reuse the implementation to build a framework?
No.
Huh. So I was trying to show you, like I just try to create a new application here again. But can I see recruit IMPL? I only see recruitment, which is a framework.
Yeah, so implementation project you can't build, again reuse it, isn't it?
Exactly. Correct. So this is not possible. And what about
Yeah.
this? Implementation on top of another implementation. Possible?
No.
Perfect. So through the
Because
wizard, we
implementation can't be used anywhere, isn't it again?
correct, correct. So that's the whole point. So framework, if it is a framework, I can reuse it across other applications. In fact, I can go on with different levels of
Or
reusability as well.
frameworks. Yeah, it can
On,
go
correct.
on. And on frameworks, you can build your own.
Right. But whereas with implementation, I cannot reuse it.
The
So
reverse
that's
is not possible. That's all, isn't it?
correct. Perfect. Right. So now if you observe in recruitment IMPL, I have both my case types. And these are coming from your framework. So that's how you can reuse a lot of things from the framework applications. Okay.
Okay, then
Sure.
great. It was
Okay then.
talking.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have
Have
a
a
great
good
day.
day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.